Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into this thing. All right, folks, we need to talk about the ACC. They are very much on the clock, and Jim Phillips can't catch a break. This guy, like I said, no rest for the weary. He thought finally he was going to get a break for a few years after he settled with Florida State and Clemson. They came out with a big buyout plan and all that. And this is a story I've been wanting to cover because now North Carolina's talking about going to the SEC. But I've been so tied up with the Boo Carter thing and the Connor Stalions thing that I haven't gotten to this story yet. But now I get to talk about it, and I think it's a huge story. Recently, North Carolina, there's been a lot of talk that they've got some sort of a little handshake type deal with the SEC behind the scenes, which is not impossible. Now, I definitely don't think Greg Sankey wants that word getting out there, even if it's true, because I don't know that it is. But could there be talks behind the scenes? I can tell you North Carolina wants to go to the SEC. I think that's why they hired Bill Belichick. They wanted a big-name guy. And you saw that with Colorado hiring Deion Sanders before they moved into the Big 12. So there's obviously a lot of thinking along those lines for North Carolina. You're going to have several teams jockeying for position for the conference of their choice, which is either going to be the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, there are some unique situations. Granted, Jim Phillips cutting this deal or this settlement calmed Florida State and Clemson down and stopped the lawsuits and stopped all the legal fees and gave them a breather, or at least he thought. But what it really did was set in motion the exit of multiple teams, because in 2026, you now can leave the ACC for $165 million. And then each year it goes down until it hits $75 million in 2030. And then it stays there through 2036 because they've got this crazy, super long TV rights deal that only ESPN had the right to accept or reject. ACC had no say in it. Of course, they've extended it to 2036. And it's not a good deal, but it is what it is. You know, sometimes you're stuck in a contract that's just too long and not enough money to keep people satisfied. So while the SEC's been racking up the money, that Tony Petitti, who has done really a stellar performance when it comes to TV rights, he got a deal for the Big Ten that's like no other. And that's why they've got the most money coming in. And he also very smartly has that contract ending before the SEC. The Big Ten's contract runs through 2030, whereas the SEC is through 2033. So there's going to be like a 3-year span there where the Big Ten, you know, they're going to cut a bigger deal with Fox Sports, and they're going to have even bigger advantage. Now, let me show you where the money is and why everybody's going to be exiting the ACC, or at least the big dogs. Right here, you can see the Big Ten has the advantage right now, and the SEC, it's a huge advantage over the Big 12 and the ACC. There's just not enough money here to make it work for the big teams in the ACC. Now, granted, they did make a deal in that settlement that if you're getting a lot of views on TV or you get the ratings, you do get more money. So FSU and Clemson are going to get more money based on that. So that'll help them a little bit during this time. But I don't want to use the word guaranteed, but it's as close to guaranteed that by 2030, multiple teams will be leaving. That actually times up kind of perfectly for the Big Ten. You've got North Carolina, FSU, Clemson, Virginia, and Miami. There's your 5 schools that I think will be exiting around 2030. The problem is I only think there's room for 4 in that first go-round, with the Big Ten taking 2 and the SEC taking 2. Now, that's going to gut the ACC. Now, if you think about the teams in that conference, those are the ones you always think about because those are the ones everybody wants to see play football or basketball for the most part. I know there's other schools that are good there too, but not compared to those 4 or 5. So it's a matter of who gets the teams they want as far as SEC, Big Ten, and what teams get to go where they want. It almost feels like FSU is going to head to the Big Ten. I've got a lot of people in the FSU fan base that I talked to in comment section, and we've been talking ever since the whole snubbing that they got in the playoff when Alabama took their position. They lost their quarterback, and that led to this whole big lawsuit against the ACC. FSU was furious about that. And it wasn't long before they were suing the ACC, and then Clemson jumped in, and it got ugly.
You don't talk to me like that. People are scared of me.
Why would anyone be scared of you? I hate you, you big fat turd.
Yeah, it was nasty as it could be. But now that's kind of calmed down. But it feels like the FSU folks are leaning towards the Big Ten, and they're going to be available in 2030. $75 million is not that much. And with the Big Ten's TV rights deal ending then, that's going to make it real easy for them to add them. And that's a state that the Big Ten wants badly. Now, it's going to suck when it comes to travel for the players and for the fans, because they're going to be going to the West Coast, the Northeast. They're going to be going all over the country to play games and to play other sports, which is going to stink. And culturally, the fit isn't that good, but Big Ten wants a Florida team badly, and FSU is going to be sitting there available. Now, North Carolina is a unique situation because the Big Ten and the SEC have no teams in that state. So when it comes to media rights in that area, there's a lot of views to be picked up. So I think North Carolina is going to be a very appetizing meal for one of those conferences. Then you got Virginia. Now, Virginia's football team's not very good. Their basketball team's terrific. But that's another entire state, and it's not a small state. So those two, when it comes to viewership, are going to be highly sought after. Then you got Clemson. Again, they're a perfect fit for the SEC, but the problem is the SEC already has South Carolina, the namesake, in the conference. So do they really need a second team in South Carolina? So the Big Ten would love to pick up Clemson because that's another entire state for them to kind of, really get their claws into it. But again, travel, culture, all those things, it's just not a good fit. So I don't know if Big Ten even cares about that, though. And it's going to be hard for Clemson to turn down the money they can make in the Big Ten, which is highly significant. And then you got Miami. Miami feels like a Big Ten school to me, but they could be the odd man out. And that brings in the Big 12. Because don't think the Big 12 won't be kind of swooping in there looking at one or two teams, maybe three or four. I don't know what happens with the ACC. If all these big-time teams leave, which it looks like they're going to, you're not left with a very competitive conference anymore. And the Big 12 might grab a couple. They don't care to go all over to get what they want. So the ACC, it feels like they're on the clock to me. And Jim Phillips, yes, you stopped the bleeding for the time being, but now the speculation is on. It's only going to get worse. Every day you get closer to 2030, and you might have a team or two jump before then and pay what it would be like $15 million more per year over 2030. So it'd be 165 and 26, and then it drops and drops and drops all the way down to 2030. I wouldn't be shocked if a team jumped before then. But the speculation, look, the wolves are circling the ACC. I can just go ahead and tell you that. And the conferences are lining up, and more importantly, the teams are lining up. Because I can tell you right now, North Carolina is ready to go. They're ready to get out of the ACC. Now, it may take a few years, but the speculation's only going to increase as we go forward. And I don't know what the ACC can really do. So I did want to talk about this. Just look for this speculation to continue to increase, and it's going to be coming from the schools too. I can go ahead and tell you that. They're all jockeying for the position of which conference they want to go into. So look for this to get very interesting. And yes, Jim, you gave yourself a reprieve for a period of time, but you also set in motion the demise of the conference. By 2030, the ACC is not going to look anything like it used to or like it currently does. And, of course, everybody's now in fall practice. Of course, my team, the Tennessee Vols, they've started their practice. And Boo is having to pay a little bit of a penance, it appears. But he'll be back practicing with the team, I'm sure, pretty soon. And, of course, we got to figure out who our quarterback's going to be. Looks like it's probably Joey Aguilar. I know every other team's trying to figure that out. And we'll get to play real football games here pretty soon, and that'll be good. And a lot of this speculation might die down a little bit, but after that, look for it to go through the roof. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know continue cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit that button right there. Won't cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. And right over here is the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.